Is this just fantasy? Or is it three folk tales, a ghost, a witch, and a goblin? So I'm covering this because this book is very important to my childhood and the foundation of, I guess, my love of spooky things and my love of, I guess, witches. And I'd say most importantly, it is the book that introduced me to Baba Yaga, who is one of my favorite characters in folklore. And I just wanted to talk about this book because I also think that the art in it is really lovely. So this is illustrated by Rosalind Fry, who I guess sourced the three stories independently and just did some illustration for them. When I was a kid, one of my sisters had this book, and I used to want to look at it all the time and borrow it. And then when I became an adult, I decided to buy my own copy of it just because I needed to have it as part of my collection. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. Well, actually, before that, let's just look at this cover for a second. So, most of the art in here is going to be kind of duotone. So, just black ink, paper, and then one spot color. But this is like a little watercolor drawing, and it's really nice. I really love the ghost making up the negative space for all the titles. And it's just, I love this lovely little texture in here painted in, and nice expression on the ghost, nice and spooky and fun. Got this really cool tree and a little cute little owl, and some mushrooms. So like, I don't know, it's a fun image. I just love the painted quality of it, and I think it's a perfect kind of an illustration for something that's a little spooky, but it's also for kids. So this is the like kind of tone we're gonna get here. Is we're gonna get this kind of gold or bronze color in all the art. And we'll also get some like kind of like gray washes in here too. And then right here we have a little spot of white, which is really lovely. And we have our ghost ahead of our first story, The Ghost Catcher. So I'll just kind of quickly summarize these stories just because we're here to look at the art. Which here's a great, first image here of the main character of this first story. So he's basically a young barber who doesn't want to be a barber. His dad was one, but he's not too good at it, and he just wants to be a farmer. And eventually everybody stops going to see him because he's not quite as good as his dad. And so he decides, I'm going to leave town and go somewhere where they don't know that I'm not as good as my dad. Tough life for this guy. Yikes. But as far as the art goes, I really love the pattern on this coat, and the texture of like these pants. Real nice line work, nice expression there. And yeah, I also just love the use of the color, and that there's no holding lines on the outsides of these colored areas. I think it's a nice look, and yeah, it's something that like at some point I would like to practice or try out some art that is this simple, but yet I think it's also really effective, really lovely. So he tries to go to another town, and he ends up sleeping under a tree that's haunted, and he tricks a ghost into thinking he can catch ghosts in his bag by using a mirror in there. And so I just love that this like kind of pencil or Conte crayon lightness when it comes to the ghost image here. I just I think it's such a smart move. It's great visually. I feel like Rosalind Fry probably had the most fun doing like the ghost drawings here, just because it's just so light and conceptual. Yeah, we get a kind of a double image here of the ghost. I love the pattern on the bag here. And yeah, it's just a really nice image, and it's a great use of the materials, and that's something that I really respond to, is when I can pick apart the materials being used in the art. I think that one, it shows that it's a human being using materials to create something, and you can see the choices that they're making. And so, yeah, really, really lovely stuff. And so our barber asks for some gold, and so the ghost gives him gold. Just a nice little illustration, kind of selling the, the gift, or what the guy receives from this ghostly encounter. Really nice fine lines on these plants here, but just, yeah, also great use of the spot color with the gold bags. Nice. And then the story kind of ends with a little bit of a joke that the ghost's cousin says, "You're crazy. Why'd you think that you could catch ghosts?" And then that ghost ends up getting tricked. And again, we get some nice light, again, Conte crayon or graphite for this ghost. Like, look how light that hand is in the face, and yet, I can see it. I can, it's ghostly. It's great. Nice little house in silhouette. But now we're on to the main event for me, which is Baba Yaga, a Russian witch story. So if you don't know who Baba Yaga is, you're about to be introduced, just like I was. But she is one of the greatest witches of all time. I think I hold her above all other witches. And this right here, this little icon, kind of represents her mode of transportation, which she rides in a giant mortar and pestle and sweeps the tracks away with a broom. Really unique way of travel, and that's because, she thinks outside the box. So here we give our first look at Baba Yaga, and this was an indelible image. It's small, but I think it is just such a nice one. So really nice work on the face here, and like the tousled hair, the long nose and chin, no holding line on the top of that babushka or the headscarf, and also like use of like the gray wash to make a pattern on the bottom of her dress to make it darker than the gold color. And her little shoes. Also use of that Conte to get some nice shine on her mortar. And just a nice line mark for her broom. This image, yeah, is just forever in my head. Again, super simple, but it conveys, yeah, like this is a witch, 100%. This is a witch, and not only a witch, the greatest of all witches. So this story it's an adaptation from another adaptation from like the 1930s, and Baba Yaga appears in many stories, but this one is sort of a take on a couple different ones, and most notably Vasilisa the Wise, or Vasilisa the Beautiful, which is like one of the most popular and well-known Baba Yaga stories. But this version, she's a little girl who's lost her mother, as all fairy tale children do, and her father remarried, and he remarried a nasty lady. Not this lady. This is her aunt, her mother's sister. And eventually, her stepmom wants to get rid of her, and so she's going to send the little girl to her own sister, who is Baba Yaga. So this guy married Baba Yaga's sister. So must be slim pickings in this village. But this little girl's smart. She goes and visits her aunt first before going to see Baba Yaga, and she prepares her by giving her a ribbon, a can full of oil, loaf of bread, and ham. And basically, she's preparing her for all the things she needs to basically pay off so that she can escape the witch eventually. There's lots of nice little details in this story that I like just from a story perspective. But we're here to talk about the art, and I really love this really sweet drawing of the little girl and her aunt. I like just the simple rendition of the pattern on the bottom of the dress. Because in kind of like folk Slavic dress, there's usually some elaborate patterns, like on the sleeves and on the bottoms of dresses and such. And so here we get like a pastiche of that in line. But I just think it's really effective, and it's just lovely. Also great use of the goldenrod color. And I really love how she puts a gray wash over this loaf of bread to kind of just give it a texture, and also that to differentiate it from the brightness of the dresses and the headscarves. And also look at these long braids. It's just such nice line work. No wonder I became obsessed with line art. And another great illustration is her kind of going to see Baba Yaga, and she's supposed to give a gate some oil, a tree a ribbon, a cat some ham, and a couple of dogs some bread. And that's how she's going to escape. Really beautiful illustration. I love all the line work for the leaves back here, and the nice washes for the trees, and just the scrub back there. And just nice playful line work, and these cute little birds over here. Looking at this page, it's no wonder that I would grab this book as a child and then just want to draw after it, and I would just draw. And I think it's because it looks like a drawing, and it looks very approachable, especially for a young aspiring artist like I was as a kid. It looks like a thing that eventually I could have drawn. And I think that's what's so successful about it, and that's what's so beautiful about it. So here we get another look at Baba Yaga in her sweet dress here, and this image of her, she's got like warty chin, maybe stubble, I don't know, but she's looking like a witch, man. And she's doing some embroidery, and the nice thing is like we get this little version of the embroidery going on here, and then over here we get a blow up. I really like that. I like that it translates. It looks like from one to the other. And the idea is that it's this lovely flower, and that the flower is being held prisoner by the witch. And so to save it, the little girl has to undo the embroidery to let the flower free. And I think that's just such a really cool fairy tale, fantastical concept. And like the little needle inclusion here. But yeah, really, really great drawing. Look, love these hands here. And just the great posture there. This nice little stool, the feet. Like, just, on all cylinders, it is working for me. Just, lovely little bend there to the scarf. But yeah, so she starts freeing the embroidered flower, and she overhears that Baba Yaga asking her cook to prepare a big pot to boil the little girl in. And apparently this lady's fine with that, and she's just going about her business getting firewood and water. Really loved this image. I remember this one also just very big in my memory of just her carrying those buckets of water and the wood on her head in particular. And also, like, I like how the costuming is similar across the characters, but each person has a different specific look, you know, and like the shape of this lady's head is very different. And her clothes are just, yeah, they're just all like unique from each other, and that's just, it really works. And also the little splashes of water coming out of the buckets. But she just gets tricked by the little girl to like take her scarf, and so she's got a clear exit, and then she gives all the treats to the different animals, like this cat and these dogs and the tree and the gate and everything. And just love, yeah, like this scraggly looking cat, you know, on the looks like cobblestone steps. And these dogs, I remember these dogs as a kid and thinking like they looked really mean, and I think it works, you know. I think, and I like that she does, you know, like a brown dog and a black dog, and I think, yeah, just really well rendered, fits the style of everything else. And I remember this image too, because I really love how delicate these branches are of this tree. But she's running away from Baba Yaga's hut, which, by the way, one thing that is a little bit of a missed opportunity in this book is that she doesn't make a point of drawing Baba Yaga's house, which is a hut on chicken legs, which that's an image that we'll definitely be seeing plenty of later. But yeah, she's getting caught up in this tree, but then she gives the tree this ribbon, and then it lets her go. And I love, yeah, like how the hill that this tree is on is isolated by these, you know, this grass and little flowers and bits, you know, but we have this little nice look in the distance of, you know, the top of Baba Yaga's roof and these trees. Yeah, just how delicate all this is. Just, yeah, it's such a great drawing. And then here we have the cat kind of tricking Baba Yaga and sewing a mouse's tail into the embroidery. And basically all the animals reveal that Baba Yaga's just been a bad owner, and she's just been horrible to all these creatures, and so they're helping the little girl escape. I love this, always love this image of her kicking this door. And I like the little spots of orange in, you know, or bronze or whatever you want to call it, in the brickwork. Just again, give it just a little bit of texture or a little bit more going on. You know, I love just, yeah, the expression that this hand adds, her face, you know, the patterning again just looks great. You know, and again, captured my imagination as a kid. And here we are. This is definitely my favorite image of the book. It is Baba Yaga chasing our little girl. Little girl looks tiny over here, but here's this forest again, like, so simple, but yet it reads properly as a forest. And here's, you know, the distance between them and the plants at the bottom, but then here's the witch flying in her mortar. Look at her squatting in there, like her broom sticking out the back, all this stuff flying around to show that she's mad after her. The mortar looks great, but then, yeah, her expression, just such, you know, such a great looking witch. Look at her. And I like the little pattern on the underside of her cape, that orange color. Yeah, she's pissed, man. She's real pissed. And yeah, so yeah, this image definitely loomed large, and like it was like definitely the part of the book that I looked at the most was this one right here. And just it would get me scared, honestly, because I want this lady coming after me. And so to get away, she, has these magic items that the cat gave her that create a river and then a forest to block her path, or Baba Yaga's path. And so she gets away. And here she is running and kind of, away, looking back. I like how, because she's whipping her head back to see if Baba Yaga's following her. Her pigtails are flying this way. I don't know. That's how that reads to me. She's like whipping her head back, even though she's running that way. Yeah, just lovely, like brush made wash trees back there. And finally, Dad steps in and gets involved. Our delinquent dad with really pretty outfit on. I love his shirt. Look at that pattern. Look at the pattern on his sleeves. Definitely inspired by like Russo, Slavic, like folk clothing. And she's talking to her dad, saying like, your wife's sister is a witch, and your wife tried to get me killed. And I remember as a kid, because sometimes I wouldn't read it and I would just look at it, I mistake this as Baba Yaga like hiding in their house, like she got in somehow, and I would think it was a kind of a darker ending than it was. But no, this is the wife who definitely resembles Baba Yaga, but she's hiding because she knows that she's fucked. Look at this. Look at the pretty wood patterning. The little kettle here. Yeah, those logs look really nice. And I just also love the Conti back here. But yeah, that's, I think, the capper of that story for sure. But yeah, that's the first Baba Yaga story I ever read. And the last story here, it's a short one, is The Goblin and the Tailor. And I remember this one was probably the scariest one for me. And I think it's the illustration. You're going to probably laugh at that, but when I was a kid, I was pretty impressionable. Lovely little white printing here of what looks like a graveyard in the moonlight. Looks ominous. So this one's pretty simple. It's about a tailor who is hired by a rich guy to make some clothes for him. First he makes trousers, but then because he claims that he's brave, the rich guy's like, well, why don't you do my jacket in the graveyard tonight? And I'll give you extra money. And, not to make this about criticizing capitalism, but why not? But, like, that's screwed up. That he's so desperate for money that he will put himself in danger and go into the haunted graveyard full of ghouls, ghosts, and goblins just for a few extra pieces of gold. So, yeah. That guy's bad for the system, that rich guy. But anyway, here's this pretty, like, kind of gold, like, use of that goldenrod again for this, like, doorway into this castle. Love the cobblestones here. Like his checkered pants, sets his costume as, like, what it is, so we can follow him in a later drawing. Nice window there, too. So yeah, here's the rich guy. Total asshole. But he's got great pants because of this guy. And again, I love this pattern painted in there with like a wash. And great boots. And there's our tailor back there, Jack. So he goes to the graveyard, and basically, as he's sewing in the graveyard, which, by the way, look at this amazing illustration. Love the headstones as negative space. It's so pretty. And the gray washes in there. It's so wonderful. Love that he's the only spot of color here. but then here's our goblin. And so basically what happens is the goblin comes out body part by body part, like head, neck, shoulders, arms, chest, until he's out. And basically the idea is he has to finish sewing the jacket before the goblin gets out. But I just really love this little graveyard scene. It's so moody and atmospheric, and I remember thinking that head there was super creepy. And then here's the goblin. And then so, again, I was a little kid, so don't think too much of this. But yeah, like the idea that this goblin was coming out of the graveyard to get this guy was scary to me and creepy. And and he would get one leg out, and when my sister would read this to me, she would even do voices, and so I would, again get all spooked out, which is again why I think I love spooky things, is because I got a good clean scare when I was a kid from stuff like this, and that made me okay with the feeling of fear. But yeah, lovely articulation of this hair. Love the hairy arms and knuckles and back. Just love the exaggeration of these shoulders and the stoop neck. I mean, it's a fun, grotesque, kind of trollish look. And yeah, I've never seen a goblin outside of this with goat legs and a tail. So yeah, it's really a fun looking monster. And then yeah, this was the image that spooked me, and it was this guy chasing our poor Taylor. And again, nice body language. He's made a nice coat, and he's running from this guy. A fun little image. And again, the power of a single image is especially present in fantasy art. Yeah, good use of Conte down here. Great little trees and stuff. Yeah, those nice big teeth, the big unibrow. And then here is our boy safe and sound at home. With his bag of gold. Hope it was worth it. And his checkered pants. The best and bravest in all Scotland. And a little mouse. And here's with one more illustration of our goblin with a little color. Very nice. But that is a ghost, a witch, and a goblin. One of the most important, I hesitate to say books, because it is a book, but it was just a piece of fiction that I came to at a very early age and left a big impression. I think Rosalind Fry is a very talented illustrator. I really love this book. This is the only book I had of hers as a kid, but I'd be curious to see further work by her. I think there's at least 2 other books that she illustrated. And this is from the 60s, early 70s. But yeah, love this book. Love Baba Yaga, and thanks for joining me on this little trip down memory lane. And if you want to see where the love of Baba Yaga and fantasy art took me, well, you can see it in my comic Side Questers, which is about Lizard Man and this warrior woman who become best friends and fight monsters and interact with witches and stuff, including a witch that has at least a little in common with Baba Yaga. This is the first complete arc for the story. It is 8 issues collected here. You can buy the individual issues or read them on Global Comics. And you can also check out my witchcraft anthology books, Haxan, that have stories of witchcraft and sorcery and badass witches with eye patches. So again, the whole witch theme here fits. Thanks, Baba Yaga. And if you like this, you can buy them on my website or interested. You can also read them on Global Comics. But if you like something that's a little more superhero-y with comics, I have Three Panel Origin, my web comic that I update every week on Thursday. And this is the first 3 years collected with revamped art. Its tone is light and satirical. It's kind of like The Tick, and I create a character and tell their embarrassing origin in 3 panels. And this is a book of short stories based on characters from Three Panel Origin. All these are available on my website to buy. And if you like what I do and you want to support me, buy my books.